father was 90 when he died, and he was very much of the opinion that he was British. And when he came from Jamaica to Britain in 1952, he spoke about it as coming home. He was very proud because he'd left Jamaica, a very proud Briton, believing that his king was calling him home to come and help rebuild his country, the father country, and he took it very seriously. He said every day at school in Jamaica you grew up, you had to sing the national anthem. And he would say, woe betide you if you didn't sing it with enough gusto, without your back being ramrod straight and your shoulders back. Otherwise you got the ruler. And so I grew up with the understanding that we had to be more British than the British. In some ways I admire it, in some ways it's shaming to know that, to even speak about it. I sometimes wonder, is it because as a people we were so placid in allowing ourselves to be manipulated that way, that we were manipulated that way? Or should we have known better? So I think of myself as a Black, British, African, Caribbean man, because I think each one of those aspects make up my story, who I am. I'm Black, my parents are from the Caribbean, that's a huge story in itself. Take from Africa, which is a huge story in itself. But I've grown up, I've been born in Britain. So each one of those elements is a big part of who I am that make me up to be the man that I am. But it's a different question if you ask me about my identity from a position of what am I comfortable with. I'm comfortable being Black, I'm comfortable being Caribbean, I'm comfortable being African. I'm not so comfortable being British. And that's a recent change, I would say. There is definitely that feeling of not being able to relax, of having to be on guard, of having to consider how others are receiving me, whether that be, as I say, on public transport, or if I'm at a meeting or going for a job interview or going to a school environment or an educational establishment or whatever it might be, going into a shop. At every moment, I'm always conscious of my difference. And I'm also conscious that I have to be able to present myself in a way that is disarming of others. And that's really exhausting. But I know it's necessary because I've had a lot of feedback over the years. In fact, I've had some feedback at some of the events you and I have been to, where I've been in an environment of gay men over a few days on a retreat, and had people say to me on more than one occasion that their opinion has changed towards Black people having met me and spent time with me, because they had very racist views until they met me, and having spent some days with me now, they feel differently. So I had that happen twice in that kind of language, that direct. But there's also this idea that people feel they can say whatever they want to me, and that's white privilege as far as I'm concerned, because I don't need to hear that. So why are you saying it? Because you feel you can. But I would be more thoughtful as to how that might be received. But no one's ever taken time to ask me, how am I receiving this? They've just said it because it's what they want to do. So I'm also aware, as much as my race, I'm also aware of white privilege, which is that which allows an individual to walk through the world, expressing themselves freely without any consideration for others. But what it does do, it reminds me that people do see my difference. And I can't afford to ever forget that, because if I do, it will come back to hurt me